Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Tuplex, episode 3, Satisfactory. I've got a nice bird's eye view of the factory here. This is where we're at so far. It's cute. It doesn't look like a whole lot from up here, does it? Anyway, where am I? I am way up here on top of this cliff. Oh, look. There's a crash site up here, which I scoped out from down there. So I decided to come over and check it out. I just built a really tall ladder to a couple of platforms to get up here. I collected some stuff, but unfortunately, once I got here, I found that it needs quartz crystal, which I don't have. So I couldn't get the hard drive out of it, unfortunately. And now that I'm here, I can see that there is another crash site way out there. Yeah, so I'll definitely want to go and get that one at some point. But for now, let's go back down and get caught up on things. You'll be able to see there's some ramps and things over here. That's because I came up here to get this hard drive. I couldn't get it, so I saw that crash site over there. So I went over and built a ramp and went down. And then I saw another one over there. So I built another ramp, platform, whatever you want to call it. I got those two drives. And then there's a Caterium node down there. So I went down and grabbed some Caterium so I could get some of that Caterium MAM research out of the way. And yeah, so I made a little bit of progress. Oh yeah, and I got a parachute. The parachutes are great for exploration because you can climb way up on top of a cliff like that and jump off, and you can get to just about anywhere else that you want to go as long as it's below you. I'd like to get this power slug here. I'm going to press C again. Use the spacebar to deploy the parachute. If you press the C key, the crouch key, it'll release it, so you don't have to necessarily wait for the very slow motion fall that you normally get with the parachute. But having this thing makes getting around the map much easier. And let's go over to the MAM and I'll show you basically what I've done to unlock it. I haven't done anything else to the factory since the last episode, but I did go and collect fuel and hard drives and so forth. So, yeah, and actually I can show you the map. This is where things stand right now. So here you can see those ramps and paths that I built. So far I've gotten these 3 hard drives, and a handful of Mercer spheres, and just that one summer sloop so far. So, and I'll do this in between every episode. I'll go around and collect these things. So that we can keep making progress. Yeah, so what did I unlock? I unlocked the first few nodes of the Caterium tree. And ultimately up to Zipline. And I did this all with just 2 stacks of Caterium ore that I got from that node. The zip line is really cool. This is also a nice way to get around at times. It's a little bit challenging, but you can use this to... here, let me demonstrate over here. You can jump up, if it's not too high, that is. You can jump up and grab onto a wire. Now, why can't I get that one? There we go. Right. So you can navigate around using that as well. It's, you know, for these normal power poles, it's a little difficult because once you hit the pole, you're done. So you kind of have to leap around the pole if you want to go a long distance. But later on, you can get like these high tension wires that stretch between towers, and with those you can go as long as the run goes. When you get to the tower, it doesn't knock you off like these power poles do. So that'll come in handy mostly later. I also unlocked some more stuff in the mycelia tree. I unlocked fabric. I crafted a bunch of fabric, and that's how I got this parachute here. And then I made the parachute. And I mentioned gas masks earlier. I'd like to unlock that, but you can see that for that we need coal and steel pipes, which I don't have yet. So we will have to wait on that. Oh, yeah, so quartz. I unlocked the silica tree. I think I'd already done that, and I unlocked this one too with some leftover raw quartz that I had. This one here for quartz crystal, but I don't have enough to make the crystal, so I couldn't get that drive, and I still can't make the blade runners. Hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. And I did find a little bit of sulfur on the ground, and I unlocked the sulfur tree, but couldn't get any further there. So that's just to keep you up to date. I scanned another drive, so I've got fine concrete and deuterium wire recipes available. I'm not sure if I'll use either one of those, but I also have another hard drive on me, so I will start scanning that now. And let's get rid of this fuel here. Put that into the burner, and then I'm going to drop off some of these other items that I picked up, and then we'll get down to business. There's the fabric. Oh, at that crash site where I started the video, there were computers, there were crystal oscillators, there were cooling systems, and some quick wire. So this is all stuff that we normally wouldn't see at this stage of the game. So the good thing about that is that if we wanted, we could throw some of these advanced items into the sink, and we could get a lot of coupons. Oh, I also found some aluminum sheets. Or we may decide just to hang on to them. We might be able to use them to unlock stuff later, a little bit earlier than we normally would. But, if we need more fix-it coupons, that'll be a quick and easy way to do it. So anyway, I did all that off screen because I wanted to focus on building today. And speaking of building, we've got this iron plate production going on, but I have actually modified the build plan. Because one thing I didn't include there were two things I didn't include in the build plan previously. One of them were the modular frames. Okay, so I added 2 assemblers making modular frames. That'll give us 4 a minute. But that, of course, is going to demand additional reinforced iron plates and some more rods, which really kind of amplified our needs on the iron side of things. So now we will need in total 455 iron per minute. And if we look at our map, let me show the iron nodes. We have 6 iron nodes available, right? 3 of them we're already using, and then we have 3 more. These are all normal. So normally that's only going to give me 360 iron ore per minute. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to overclock a couple of the miners in order to get the output that we want. So that's why here I'm showing like 4 miners just running normally, and then we can overclock 2 of them to get some additional ore out of them. We'll need Mark II belts, of course, which we should be able to unlock soon. Mark II belts allow 120 items per minute versus 60 on the Mark Is. And in the next phase, we'll be able to unlock Mark II miners, which double the output, without having to overclock. So this is kind of a temporary situation. I also added copper sheets, which we'll want to produce, and those are going to get unlocked during this phase. So we'll need a little bit of additional copper, but not a whole lot. We'll have plenty of copper. We have 2 copper nodes on the map, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, 2. Actually, there's a 3rd one close by. So we've got plenty of copper for what we want to do. No issues there. And then for limestone, we have more limestone on the map than what we are currently taking advantage of. Right now we're only using this one for 60. There's another one here, and there's another one not too far away over here. So my plan is to use all 3 of those, which would give us 180 ore per minute into 4 machines, and with that we can make 60 concrete a minute. So scaled things up a bit. We're going to need 10 machines making screws. That's a lot of screws. That's going to be a bit of a hassle, but it is what it is. There are alternate recipes to reinforced iron plates that don't use screws, so I'm kind of hoping that this hard drive will give us one of those. But if it doesn't, then that's okay. We'll just build like this. Now, all of this is going to require a maximum of 459 megawatts of power. So I have a plan for a power plant. If we have 15 generators, that's going to give us 450. Now, the 459 maximum, I think it might actually end up being a little bit less than that by the time we underclock and overclock all the stuff that we want to do. So I'm hoping that we can squeeze this out. I want to limit this to 15 just because that's what we can feed with one machine making solid biofuel. And you can see what we're going to have to feed it per minute in order to keep that running. We're going to need to collect a lot of fuel. So as soon as this factory gets built, we're going to want to rush towards getting more power put together. And fortunately, in phase 2, we'll be able to unlock coal power, and so that's going to be our goal. All right. Now I talked about the smart plating. So the output is the smart plating, and I wanted to discuss quickly in the Satisfactory wiki. If you look at the space elevator, there's this very useful chart that shows you for each phase how many of each of these various components you need in order to complete the phase. So there's 2 approaches to progressing through the game. One would be that you just make what you need to get through all the phases of these items, which is totally fine because these items are not used in the production of anything else, right? These are all project assembly parts. They don't really have much other use in the game other than to feed the space elevator. Now, smart plating, for example, gets used later on. It gets used by some of these other items, right? So some of these will feed other project parts, but the project parts by themselves are just products for export. We don't use them ourselves. So one thing you could do is we could just start making smart plating and put it into a container, and as soon as we've made 4,300 of them, we could turn it off, right? And then with versatile framework, automated wiring, etc. And I did a playthrough on my own like that, where I just produced what I needed to complete all the phases, and then I shut it off. And that way my power requirements were a lot less. I could reuse resource nodes to make different items as the game went on. But that does require some building and rebuilding and so forth. If it's your first time playing through the game, I would actually recommend doing that because I think overall it makes it easier, right? You just make the parts you need and then you shut it off. You can tear down, you can tear down the production if you want to and then build something else. But what I'd like to do in this playthrough
is have continuous production of all these. So once we start making start plating, we'll just keep making start plating, and any excess that we produce, we'll just send into the sink for coupons, right? And so I'm going to do that for all of these. So so once we build out our plan, which I need to go back to, once we build out this plan, I'm just going to leave this running for the rest of the game, and we'll set something up so that any excess production goes into a sink, and it'll just run perpetually. All right. So so that's that. Now back to building. I think the first thing that I'll want to do then is to build the power plant before I get into much more with the actual production, because we're already nearing our maximum capacity. So let's build a power plant, and I think I'll put it on a separate platform, if you will. And maybe we'll put it over here. Seems like a good idea. I'll make it the same height. Alright, so I'll just feed that over here, and this gives us a starting location. Oh, I need to get more concrete. Everybody's asking when I'm going to do Factorio. Which I guess is understandable. And the answer is I don't know. I haven't really had any desire to play Factorio lately. I may be burnt out on Factorio permanently. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some Factorio stuff in the future. We shall see. Alright, so I want to cut all this stuff down. This will give us a nice little bit of fuel anyway, which we are going to desperately need. Once this factory gets built, I think it's going to be practically a full-time job just keeping the fuel coming in. Okay, that should prevent trees from popping up. Okay, I think that's a good start for a foundation. All right, and we're leaving those barrel plants intact. They do regrow. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but once you pick the nuts off, after a while they will grow more. Okay. So here's what we're going to do up here. I'm going to have, how many containers do I want? We'll start with 2. And actually I will reserve space. Yeah, I'll reserve space for more containers. But this is basically where we're going to turn our fuel sources into biomass. Okay, so we could have this one create biomass from mycelia, for example. This one will make biomass from wood. And then this one will make biomass from leaves. Okay, so that way we can just come up here when we have a load of fuel. We can drop off the leaves. We can drop off the wood. And we can drop off mycelia if we have any extra. And then we can merge this all together. The arrows are going in the right direction. Okay, and then that in turn will go to a machine that is going to make solid biofuel from biomass. Okay.
And this can take 120 a minute. So really what I want now is I want to unlock Logistics Mark II so that I can make some Mark II belts. So let's see what it takes to do that. I have part assembly queued up. That's going to give us all this stuff. What do I need for Logistics Mark II? Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and unlock these. You know what? Let's just do Logistics Mark II first. That way I'll have what I need right now, and then we can wait for the pod to come back for the other stuff. And as you can see, we're producing plenty of material here. Okay, wonderful.
Milestone reached. Fix-It would like to remind you of
then
your
we'll do that one
contractual
next.
obligation towards efficiency. Recreational use of belts and lifts does not count towards work hours and will put you on the list. Stay
list.
efficient. Don't disappoint Fix-It.
All right, so now what I can do is if I select my conveyor belt and I press the E key, it will cycle through the various varieties, right? So I can replace this now with a Mark II belt, and that'll move 120 a minute. So we can feed this and we can run this at full speed. And then I'd like to run this into a container. To store the fuel. Mark I belt is okay there. All right. And then from here, we will distribute to our generators, which we're going to start placing out here. And hopefully I left myself enough room so that I don't run into this cliff. We'll see. We could always go up another level, I suppose. Well, let's see. So this is going to come to this is going to need to be split. Or no, actually, what I need after this, I'm going to need a merger. And then a splitter. And I'll explain why in a moment. If we're going to have 15 generators, we're going to set them up into five sets of 3. So what we need to do is we need to evenly split into 5, which is kind of a challenge. But what we can do is here we're going to split into 3. And each one of those 3s can split into 2 more, right? So that'll give us 6. But since we only need 5, the 6th one will just feed back into this merger, so it gets combined. So we're basically we're going to make like a 1-to-5 splitter. All right, let's try this again. Close as we can, like that. All right, so I had to realign things a little bit here, but I've got it working now. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so this is one of the splits that comes after this, right? So that's 1, 2, and then we'll have 3, 4, and then 5. Yeah, And I'll have to make 3, 4 over here. Move it over 1. There we go. Okay. There. Now they're separate buildings. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we need one more. Middle mouse button to build a copy of something. Right? Just highlight it, press the middle mouse button, and it'll automatically select it. Okay, so I guess we're going to have one generator floating up in the air. Or I wonder if I can put it here. Ah, there we go. Alright. So this last one is going to be a bit of an oddball setup. Did I put a belt there? Okay. Right, so this is going to be the third one then, and this is the one that we're going to feed back into the merger as well. Okay, so it'll come back out of that, and then it'll split half off into this one, and then the other half we're going to loop back. Okay, so that way each of the 3 splitting off here is getting split into 2. Some of it will come back to get reincorporated into the loop, and this way we get an even quantity of fuel going to each one of these sets of generators. Equal quantity of fuel is what I meant to say. All right. So now we have to wire it up, which is always fun. Probably my my least favorite part of building. So I'll just put power poles, yeah, there, and we'll put one there. Okay, so they're all hooked up. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the fuel from these generators, and we'll use that to seed the new power plant. And then once those generators turn on, we'll be able to shut off the old power plant. Of course, we will also need to connect everything to the power. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, let's get to it now. Okay, so we'll need to power up all these machines as well. Okay, and then yeah, so before we connect this to the rest of the grid, let's go ahead and feed this. So I'm going to put all that solid fuel in there, except for a little bit that I'm going to keep for myself. Let's throw down a lookout tower so we can see from above what's happening. And make sure our balancer works. All right, So far, so good. Now, the reason I went through all the trouble to build this balancer is because I want to make sure that each generator gets the same amount of fuel so that they all run. You know, I don't want to have like half the generators full of fuel and then some of them starving, because then that reduces our overall capacity. I'd rather have full capacity until it completely runs out of fuel rather than have only some of them running and some of them not running. Right. And this should be all it takes to make that happen. And now that I think about it, I think this return line, I think we should have a Mark II belt here in the middle. There we go. Because I'm going to have 60 coming out of here, which is a full belt, but then I also have to add some more back in. And in order to do that, I need a faster belt coming out. And then the Mark II belt will get split into 3 there, so we can just have Mark I belts coming out of that part. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, this looks good. So all the generators are now running. We're also making additional fuel over here. Let's check. All right, see, now this wants to put out 150 a minute, which we can't do. So I'm just going to underclock it to 60 a minute. And this one, or you know what? Let's underclock it to 120 per minute. Yeah, let's do that. Here's my reasoning. If each of these machines individually can handle up to 120 per minute, then that way I'll be able to get the full. I'll always be able to get the full 120 a minute into this machine, even if I'm only making one type of fuel. Except in the case of the leaves. But for the leaves, we want 120 a minute going into this machine, even though only 60 a minute are going to come out. All right. Wonderful. And then this will gradually fill up, and that way if we need more fuel for the chainsaw, we can come and grab a stack out of there. Whoops. I didn't mean to deploy my parachute. Yeah, so this looks good. And if we take a look at the capacity here, 450 megawatts, you know, plus those other 3 there, which I'm going to tear down here shortly. Or maybe I should leave it. No, I want to tear it down. Okay. Yeah, I'll just connect that over there. Okay, and now we've got huge power. And we'll take this apart. Oh, and I just thought of another power source provider we should put up here is a container that just feeds in raw biomass. I guess I could just do this to get rid of this biomass. All right, and I have a little extra. So I'll come back in and feed it some more later. The other thing I can do is I'll just make a little storage box here and I'll throw it in there. And that way, if we ever run out of fuel, I've got a little bit that we can use to get things jump started. Okay, so I'll leave the tower there. Let's take a moment to throw up some railing around the edges here, so I don't accidentally fall off. And we're clipping a little bit off the edge. I guess we can live with that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen some people make some like really beautiful factories in this game that, you know, are architecturally interesting and they look like real buildings and stuff. I'm not good at that. I need more rods. I'm not good at that. So you won't see a whole lot of fancy looking architecture in my playthrough. What I will try to do is at least make it look like it's a structure that could exist. So I'll throw in some supports, and you know, maybe later on I'll try to spend some time making things look better. But for now, I just want to get things up and running. This is where I would like to have the catwalks. But what we can do for now, I'll just put supports like on the corners. That'll hold the building up. I have to get this limestone out of here. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, almost done. Okay. All right, so now it's at least a somewhat realistic structure. Okay, and I'll put my ladder back here. When I have more coupons, I'll get catwalks, and then we can put like catwalk stairs going up to our factories. That's a little bit nicer. Oh, you know what would be cool actually is if I put those containers on the ground level, so I don't have to climb up to add material. So let's do that as well. Will a container fit there? Surface is too uneven. Okay. You mean this completely flat surface that I'm trying to work with here? Let's expand it. Okay. Yeah, that works. All right. Bear with me here. Okay. This will work well, I think. God, it really doesn't like me putting stuff here, does it? Yeah, it just kind of barely fits. All right, so then what I'll do is I'll remove these. And we'll have these come up through the floor. Now for the leaves, remember we need Mark II, so we'll put a Mark II lift on that one. And hopefully, yeah, there they are. Let's add another section of floor here. Are you kidding me? I put them backwards. Okay. There. Okay, so now we can come up here and put in our fuel like this. And then it'll feed up to the top. And I have some more solid biofuel in my inventory, so let's put that in the container. Again, I'll just keep the smallest stack for myself to run my chainsaw. Okay, and we have a power plant. So that's not terribly exciting because we're not really building anything, but it gives us the opportunity to build more and more stuff, which is good without constantly running out of power. Okay, so let's see if we can get parts assembly unlocked. And I'm going to need more iron plates. Fortunately, I know where I can get some. In fact, I've got a full container. Since we're not using these other machines yet, I fed them all into a merger. So, yeah, so this is completely full already, as you can see. I'll just grab a few stacks. And then we can unlock part assembly, and then we basically have everything that we need unlocked for this phase.
Milestone reached. The assembler can produce more complex parts, including the first project part, smart plating, which
There's
is
the
crucial
assembler.
for initiating project assembly. Project parts must be delivered to the space elevator. By completing
when
your
we got
contracted
that.
duties as part of project assembly, you will definitely be helping achieve Fix-It Company goals without any other ulterior motive. Note, humans cannot craft project parts. Do not worry about your inadequate crafting skill when compared to an assembler. Fix-It cherishes your innate human abilities, such as walking, striking objects, and commodifying natural resources.
I'm good at striking objects. Okay. Yeah, so what that was saying is that you can't build the smart plating in the you can't build that by hand. That has to be built in the machine, which I think I mentioned earlier. So okay, so let's take a look at our plan then and see what we need to do. So I'm going to focus purely on this part of it. Right, the copper and the concrete we're already producing in smaller quantities elsewhere, and we'll come back to those in a bit. Let's see what that recipe is that we just unlocked from the hard drive. Oh, and here's a useful tidbit. Obviously, you know, to get hard drives and Mercer spheres and summer sloops, the only way that you can get those is by exploration. You have to run around the map, building ladders and ramps and things to get around. You have to find the hard drives from the crash sites. You have to find summer sloops and Mercer spheres, which they intentionally put in difficult to find places. So, if you enjoy the exploration, then by all means do a lot of it and get all that stuff. However, if you really don't like doing that exploration, you don't have to. I'm not going to provide the details, but there is a way in the game that you can duplicate items. So if you can, as long as you find at least one of each of those things, you can make copies of them so that you have all the stuff you need without having to go out and physically find them in the world. All right. So if you do a search, you'll be able to find out how to duplicate items. I won't go into it here, but just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. So we got iron wire. This is sometimes handy, and we got fused quick wire. So neither one of those is going to help us with the reinforced iron plates. So for now, we're going to be making lots and lots and lots and lots of screws. Okay, so now instead of 4, we're going to need 8 machines making iron plates. So let's go ahead and get that set up. So we're going to need 4 more, exactly like what we've got already. Make sure we have these facing the right way. 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are going to be iron plate, and I'll copy so that I can just paste the recipe. That's a little bit quicker than having to open the dialog for everyone. There. All right, and then we need to put in our splitter for every 2, right? All hooked up. Okay. I'm gonna need another power pole here. There. Actually, I don't think I need that connection, do I? Okay, well maybe I do. I guess we have to we have to link these up somehow, and that's the way to do it. Okay, so I'll need let me put another power pole there. All right. I still have the jump pads to unlock for this phase, but I don't really use those, so I'm not gonna. I'll unlock it at some point, but I'm not in any hurry right now. Okay, so these 160 plates. So now we're gonna have 40 going to storage instead of 20, and then the other 120 are going to be going to make. Sorry. Right, there's the 8. 40 going to storage, and then 20 are going to go to making reinforced iron plates. So we're going to rework this slightly. Put a merger here. There. I must have placed that wrong. The game's not always very good at figuring out what direction to put the arrows, so I find myself having to redo this a lot. Okay. Yeah, and then all the rest we're going to merge together. Okay, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's merge them all over here. Now, when you want to merge multiples, what you can do is just put a merger in front of every machine. Except the first one. Okay. So now we'll have 20 coming out of this machine. It'll merge with this 20. So now we have 40 here. Another 20. That's 60 there. Another 20. Now we're going to have 80. So here we have to use the Mark II belt plus another 20. That's 120 or 100. And then the last 20 will give us 120 iron plates. Okay. Let's hook up the iron ore. So now we're going to need two more iron nodes. So I've got those two over there. We have a map in game now. By the way, I think the in-game map gets unlocked when you do when you unlock the MAM. Okay, so there's a third node over here where these other two are close to where these other two are. So let's add that in. Here it is. Let's see. Yeah, so I'll do this. Send that down. Let's get this out of the way. And I need a portable miner. I'll just craft a handful of them. Can never have too many of these. At some point we'll try to automate these. Okay, that'll do. Middle click. Oh, there we go. Straight mode, and now I have to hopefully squeeze in a third belt here without too much trouble, because I didn't plan for 3 belts. I only planned for 2 belts. Yeah, it looks like I'll be able to squeeze this one right in the center. Perfect. There we go. Not a big issue. Okay, now this one actually then will feed into there. And this one will feed here. And I've got this boulder to contend with. Oh, I know. Let's just do it like this. Duh. Okay. All right, and then the other miner will be this one right here. Okay, and then we'll do a ramp here. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, and then we'll just let these finish out the workday here before we say sayonara. Yeah, let's put a... No, that's fine. I should put one below it. There. Now it looks like it's actually supported on something. Okay. Good. So that's giving us our 8 plates, and we will continue this in the next episode, because I think I'm going too long already. I'm going to try to keep these videos to an hour at the most. An hour is actually longer than I was initially planning, but it's hard to do anything in this game in less than an hour. So, yeah, so in the next episode, we will continue building out the rest of this build. We'll need to do the rods and the screws, and then we'll throw those all in together to make the rest of these more advanced components. It won't take long to finish this build up now that we've got it started and we know what we want to do. So I will see you all next time. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care.